evening, everyone. I ask that everyone remain standing, please. Members of the senior class or members of the Hastings High School Chorus, I ask that you join the chorus for the singing of the national anthem. You may be seated. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the student body, faculty, administration, Board of Education, I'd like to welcome you all to the 109th commencement of Hastings High School. My name is Lou Pietro. I am not only the principal of this great institution, but I am also a parent of the class of 2017. I'd like to thank and introduce some members of the administrative staff and Board of Education that are with us this evening. Dr. Roy Montesano, our Superintendent of Schools, Ms. Melissa Hardesty, our Assistant Principal, Board of Education President, Ms. Eileen Bacher, Board of Education Vice President, Dr. Jody Meyer, Trustees, Mr. Tim Baer, Ms. Donna Lang, Ms. Lisa Litvin, Ms. Christina Mitchell, and Mr. Doug Sunheim. I'd also like to take a moment to thank a number of individuals who are also in attendance. Our middle school principal, Ms. Gail Kipper, and assistant principal, Mr. Keogh. Our Hillside administration, Ms. Amy Cases, our principal, and Mr. Fareed Johnson, who you will hear in a few minutes, our assistant principal. Our Director of Special Education Services, Ms. Laura Sullivan. Our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Jeremy Luft. Our Athletic Director, Mr. Adam Lodewick. And our District Treasurer, Ms. Maureen Caraballo. I'd also like to thank our senior class advisors and graduation coordinators, Ms. Nancy Gagliardi and Mr. Greg Smith. And of course, all of the music and sounds that you will hear this evening, Mr. Ken Jernigan and the Hastings High School Orchestra, Mr. John Riss and the High School Chorus. Fellow parent, Mr. Patrick Theodule, who has arranged for all of the filming and photography for this evening as well. And of course, a major thank you to Mr. Joe Moderano and the entire Buildings and Grounds staff for setting this all up. As principal of Hastings High School, I get to make the first speech. So, senior class, it's your turn. This is my last bit of wisdom that I can instill on you. As I researched the ideas for my inspirational speech today, I came across an article about a high school English teacher from Massachusetts who was asked to give a speech at his high school's graduation. His name is David McCullough. On that spring day in 2012 in Wellesley, Massachusetts, he stepped onto the school's football field and made a graduation speech that has been talked about ever since. Nothing about the event seemed out of the ordinary. McCullough, after all, was celebrating or having a celebration that happens hundreds of thousands of times across the entire United States. He had given graduation speeches before. But compared to the countless other remarks given by comedians, journalists, and politicians that year, McCullough's speech stood out for its blunt, four-word message: you are not special. Immediate reaction to the address was extremely positive. After the ceremony, a grandmother even thanked McCullough and complimented him on his speech. But soon after its delivery, the speech's influence spread way beyond Wellesley High School. Across the country, it was quoted, discussed, analyzed, dissected, tweeted, retweeted. It had become the graduation speech of 2012. Of course, McCullough was surprised. He had attended several other graduations that weekend, including his own son's, and by the following Monday, he said his speech felt like it had been 3 graduations ago. He was not prepared for the avalanche of emails, interview requests, and even book deals that followed. He was floored. He thought he was speaking merely to the people sitting in front of him. He was unaware that he was being videotaped. He said, I was concerned that suddenly I became the story and we were taking away from the kids. But his ideas had clearly attracted interest. And in 2014, he published a book titled You Are Not Special and Other Encouragements, which argues that the pressure to excel prevents students from taking chances and learning from failure. So why am I telling you this story? Do I think the same as David McCullough? Not exactly. As a matter of fact, I believe you are all special individuals, but I also agree with many of the tenets of his book. Wellesley, Massachusetts can in fact be synonymous with Hastings-on-Hudson. The town is affluent and well-educated. Famous musicians, artists, writers, and brilliant scientists reside there. The town is known for its excellent public school system, its beautiful greenery, its proximity to downtown Boston as we are to New York City. The town also has a nurturing atmosphere in which children thrive. Kids are born and bred for success. That's what worries McCullough. He says, if you remove from the kid the notion that every step is crucially important, that all expectations are spectacular achievement, and allow him or her to operate free from adult scrutiny and be a regular kid and follow his or her interests, it makes for a much healthier educational attitude. Today's adults, yes, your parents and grandparents, including yours truly, grew up with asphalt playgrounds, playing outside unsupervised until dinner. But today's kids are strapped in car seats from birth, and we see students slowly losing their autonomy. Today's youth now seem so directed and scheduled. They're tutored, they're coached, and the degree to which parents are involved in their lives is, let me just say, one notices. McCullough said, they're getting very little experience conducting their own lives and living with the consequences of their decisions. When they stumble, their parents step in, denying them very important, formative experiences. What David McCullough wants for his students is what I want for you, and the many past and future graduates of Hastings High School. You are not special may sound like the lament of a grumpy old man. But McCullough's book is not about bashing students, their parents, or society. Instead, he sees himself as I see myself, as a mentor who wants the best for his students amid worries about a generation defined by college admissions decisions. It is my hope that you will think about what you do follow new interests, not worry so much about material reward. Invest yourselves in the moment, and trust that the results will take care of themselves. I want you to worry less about impressing people. Isn't it a novel idea that you study because it's fun to learn? McCullough encourages his students to go out and see the world, travel, buy a boat, climb mountains, work in an impoverished country, or go to the library and simply start reading anything and everything that interests you. So class of 2017, go climb that mountain, but not to plant your flag, but to embrace the challenge. Enjoy the air and behold the view. Climb it so that you can see the world, not so the world can see you. Congratulations to the class of 2017 and to my fellow parents of this class. Thank you for welcoming my family into your lives and for the many memories that I will forever hold. Thank you. My pleasure to call on now the senior class president, Ms. Anna Hubert Aubrey.
Hi, everyone. Can I adjust? When I told my friends I'd be speaking at graduation, the first responded with, don't make it cliche. Another chimed, oh yeah, make it funny, really funny. For the next 9 months, I was unable to write a word, wondering whom I'd plant in the audience to laugh at any subpar attempt I made at humor. And then it was a week before graduation. Yes, literally last Thursday, as I sat wondering how I had written nothing, considering the insane swirling of thoughts the last few months about graduating. In one last hope, I threw away my goals and tried my best to make my tide of thoughts and feelings into something presentable. So here we are. As senior class president, I'm honored to stand up here and reflect on our last 13 years together. As Charles Dickens once wrote in Tale of Two Cities, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. When I tell new people that I've gone to school with the same 100 kids since kindergarten, the two most typical responses are, "That's so cool," and "I'm so sorry." Ah, high school. I still remember freshman gym, expected to play one-on-one basketball against a hulking senior man with a beard. There was the testing of friendships, something I didn't expect going in. The insecurity that came with learning among such intelligent and driven peers. Doubt in how to change and grow when I could only see myself through peers who had known me since I was 5. But there was also the sparking of new friendships. The confidence from nailing a presentation or paper after so much hard work. Nights with friends playing instruments around a fire, singing nonsense at the top of our lungs. Moments like these I've struggled with recently. I want to remember every detail. The smell of the firewood, the sound of my friends' laughter, the euphoria of being young with those I love. High school, the best of times and the worst. First, I want to thank our parents and guardians, most obviously for raising us in Hastings, but also for getting us this far, for giving us rides to friends' houses, guiding us through school and friendships, still loving us when we talk back. I also want to thank our teachers. The first day of high school, the biggest shock wasn't that there was no such thing as freshman Fridays like my older brother had told me, or that, the school wasn't one giant maze with no way out. But what surprised me and excited me the most, I'm going to move this way a little bit, was that my teachers looked me in the eye and spoke to me like an adult. The endless hours they've spent creating stimulating lessons, writing detailed comments on our papers, while still opening their doors to us at lunch and after school for questions on school and life. They encouraged us to disagree with them, to speak our minds and defend our opinions. For all of this and more, thank you. And last, I want to thank our incredible class of 2017. Together, we've gone through silly bands, getting rides to the movies from our parents, well, getting rides everywhere from our parents, dancing to Soulja Boy and P at gym class at Hillside until we all realized what it meant, watching Titanic in Mr. Ciceri's room, playing MASH in middle school behind binders, eager to see what our futures would hold. Whether we live in a mansion or a shack in the woods, drive a Lamborghini, a Honda, or a Tiger, have kids or travel the world or both. I'm sure our parents can attest to the fact that we are certainly not adults just yet, but thanks to our time in Hastings, I can say confidently that we're on our way there. We've become independent thinkers. Together, we've gone from eating glue and walking in alphabetized lines to having complex discussions on books and scientific theories. We've run clubs and organizations, had our seniors win nationals for soccer, been a part of the first Hastings theater production to win 3 Metro Awards, including Best Overall Musical. We've created art, poetry, paintings, photography, theater, you name it. I don't have much advice for all of you going out into the years of college and beyond. I'm terrified myself. But with our country and world in the condition they're in today and the education we are so lucky to have received, I urge us to use it for the better, to ask ourselves, what do I stand for when we wake up in the morning? Am I doing this because I want to or because I'm expected to? It first hit me that we were leaving on senior shirt day, when those of us who had been in Lenny's kindergarten class took a picture together in our college apparel. I'm going to be sad today, over the summer as each friend starts to leave. But I don't think it'll truly hit until a month into college, sitting in my dorm realizing it's been a month since I washed my sheets. Because there's no way for it to feel real yet when for my entire life up until this moment, I haven't known anything different from being here, with all of you, whether on the court for box ball or the senior lobby. And yes, we all know each other in varying levels of closeness. It might come as a surprise that after 13 years, no, we can't call up every single person to casually hang out. But as daunting as it is going out into the world of college and beyond, I find comfort in knowing that if I run into any of you, we'll have shared growing up in Hastings. I'll feel comfortable and find refuge even in saying hello. Thank you so much.
It's now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this evening. He's no stranger to Hastings, I can tell you that. Fareed Johnson is a member of Hastings High School class of 1999. Born and raised in Yonkers, Mr. Johnson moved to Hastings in 10th grade. Fareed is one of 8 children. Post-graduation, Fareed earned a BA in Business Management and Finance from Manhattan College. He immediately felt that this was not the right path for him. He decided to go back to Manhattanville and pursue his master's and double master's in childhood education with a specialization in special education. Fareed began his teaching career with passion. He aspired to be the role model for students that had many obstacles that interfered with their learning. Armed with his love of children and his motivation to perfect his craft, he applied for an extremely competitive and prestigious scholarship to Bank Street's College of Education. He was chosen one of only 10 students and earned his master's degree in educational leadership. He finished Bank Street in the top 5% of his class. Throughout his educational career, Fareed has worked in multiple capacities. He started as a substitute teacher, then a teaching assistant, teacher, dean of students, assistant principal in New York City, and finally a New York City assistant principal here at Hillside School. On July 1st, he will officially assume the role of principal at Stony Point Elementary School in Rockland County. Mr. Johnson is leaving Hastings to further his career goal, and the entire Hastings community is both saddened and excited for Fareed. When the senior class heard that Mr. Johnson had resigned, they immediately called him and asked him to speak this evening. Mr. Johnson thought he was being punked. This is the impact that Fareed makes on students. Fareed is here with his beautiful wife, Rachel, and 2 wonderful daughters, Aubrey and Skylar. Fareed wants me to call him son. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Fareed Johnson.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. This is literally what they mean when they say full circle. I sat in that seat in 1999, although it was at Reynolds Field. I wanted to speak at graduation so badly, but was not one of the special people allowed to give a speech. I'm really into poetry, so I had the best poem to share. But now, forget about that. Here I am giving the commencement speech for the Hastings graduating class of 2017. When Janie Littman called me to tell me the senior class voted to have me deliver the commencement address, I did think I was being punked, or like I was on one of those TV shows where the cameras come out, everyone starts laughing, and a chimpanzee hits me in the face with a cream pie. None of that happened, so then I just got excited, beyond belief. Full disclosure, though, if I suddenly pass out up here, it's because this man, Mr. Pietro, most likely shot me with a poisonous dart for speaking too long. He threatened me 17 times. But, as you'll hear in this speech, I have a habit of not listening. I would like to thank my awesome wife for being here now, bringing my wonderful daughters, and for being there for me throughout the years, especially my years here in Hastings. She knew a different Fareed Johnson and stayed with me to see my growth into the person that stands here before you today. I love you and am grateful for everything that you have done to help me grow in my career. My sister, who was here from South Carolina just to hear her little brother speak in an entirely different light. The tallest guy that's probably here right now, Jimmy Higgins, one of my best friends since I was 15. Lance, my brother, my nephews, that family, we call him light-skinned Lance. You'll see why. Thank you, Dr. Montesano, the Board of Education, my wonderful staff members for being here to support this glorious occasion. My awesome colleagues, Mr. Lowick, don't cry. My friends who never let me forget where I came from, and everyone in the audience today. And thank you, the graduating class of 2017. You are truly amazing. So before I started to write my speech, I did some research because I wanted to deliver a message that would have lasting positive effects. I viewed many speeches. I found that there are certain things that need to be included to make your speech great. So I'm going to get them all out of the way in the beginning. First, have an awesome quote. Okay. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Forrest Gump, 1994. Powerful quote, but Forrest was a liar. Everyone knows you can look at the back of a Godiva or Russell Stover's box and see exactly what you will get. Next, use a cool and interesting statistic. Okay. Every 7.2 minutes, a new family moves into Hastings from Brooklyn. True story. Hastings will soon be named Brooklyn Light. Moving on. Use big words to sound smart. Well, I'm an elementary educator, so automatopoeia. Next, try to relate to the young folks to get them on your side. So this was a tough one, but I remembered I can dab. All right, so I'm just going to do that for you guys real fast. All right. You guys are with me now? And lastly, to make a speech memorable is to have a great theme. And that is an important aspect where I will focus most of my time. The theme that you will hear throughout this speech is be better because we need you to be. I'm very open about my past because I feel you have to understand where someone has been to fully appreciate and understand where they are currently at and where they are trying to go. When I was growing up, every odd was stacked against me. Parents were separated, both were drug addicts, mom was an alcoholic, I was dirt poor, welfare, food stamps. I often didn't know where my next meal was coming from or if I was going to see my mother on any given night. My sister, my little sister, was learning disabled, surrounded by violence, physically and mentally abused, was in foster care twice. I was homeless, I lost my father, in a group home, and the list goes on. Then as I got older, I lost my little sister, lost my mother, lost my foster mother, etc., etc. Through all of this, there was one thought that kept me going: be better. My little sister would tell me all the time, Fareed, if you grow up and you're a bum, I will punch you in the face. I told her that we're better than all of this. I also assured her that when she grew up, she would never have to work a day in her life because I would take care of her. She would have taken care of my kids, and that would have been that. She sat in that seat too. She wasn't supposed to live past 16 because she was born with HIV due to bad decisions made by my mother and my father. That didn't stop her from graduating high school and making it to college, defying all odds. You know why? Because I too told her to be better. Be better than your circumstance. Every goal, every accomplishment, every achievement is all for her. You do not choose the family or predicament you are born into, but you can choose to rise above it all. She taught me many invaluable lessons that are instilled inside of me today. My mother, she just suffered from 2 diseases. One of them was alcohol, so she couldn't be better. She could only do what she believed to be her best. She taught me many things along the way, though. A mistake I made when I first arrived in Hastings in 10th grade was not to accept help right away. I was poor, but I was very, very proud and thought people were just out to get me. Little did I know, there were people like Nancy Gagliardi, Bill Finkelday, Patrick Theodore, who is, surprisingly, a very smart man, Ken Jernigan, Joe DeGeneiro, Ava Rogers, who is now Ava Lambert, Dr. Russell, a Hastings legend, one of my best friends, Kern Mohica, and good old Keith Gilliam, and the entire Tester family. And I know I'm forgetting some people, but they all knew that I could be better. Do not try to be like your role model. Aim to be better than your role model. I never try to be like someone else. Actually, as the meaning of my name goes, I pride myself in being unique. Mr. Aldo is my mentor. He is very good at what he does. I've learned a lot from him and have grown to love and respect him. But I do not want to be like him. I want to crush him. I want to be better. And he wants that of me as well. I think I've done some great things in my life up to this point, but I do not want any of you to be like me. I want you to be better. I made many mistakes along the way. Be better than me. Don't get suspended from college for stealing a computer because you thought you would never be able to afford one. Be better. Don't slack off on your training your freshman year because you think you're good enough to get by on talent alone. Be better than me. Don't almost get kicked out of school again because of constant public dramatic arguments with your girlfriend at the age of 19. Be better than me. I graduated from Bank Street with a 3.8. You graduated with a 3.9 or a 4.0. Be better. My colleagues joked with me about last year's commencement speaker, whom I graduated high school with as well. Oh, he's Dean of Admissions at Yale. He was a very good speaker, etc., etc., etc. And now we have you. Who the heck are you? So we all laughed like we are now. And I thought about that question for a while. And here's my answer. I'm the guy that isn't supposed to be here. Literally not supposed to be here. I was born into this world addicted to alcohol and drugs. I was beaten before I was even born, eyes bloodshot as I took my first view of life. I'm the guy that was homeless in 7th and 8th grade, been in foster care twice, was almost stabbed by my own mother. I had a gun pulled on me twice, lost my mother, my father, my best friend that was my little sister, and yet, still here I stand. You know, I went from one of the many black students being suspended from school to being the first black administrator in Hastings history. Why? Because I'm better than I was in the past. Yeah. I'm better than I was in the past, and my future will only be that much brighter. If someone like me could dig deep and make something out of this thing we call life, then you can take this world by storm. That is the mentality that had our boys' soccer team winning the first championship in the school's history. Then the same team came up to Hillside to give our students an experience that they will never forget. That is the mentality that has our drama department putting on plays that rival Broadway productions. That is the mentality of students that would rather bring everyone together and unite all classes rather than turn their noses to underclassmen or to those that appear to be different. When I spoke to the senior class reps, Janie, also our valedictorian, Anna, and Giancarlo, all they could speak about was how different their class was, how they rallied together for all sporting events, how they cheered on their boy Nate after hitting a memorable half-court shot at the pep rally. This is the mentality that has an entire class of students wanting to be remembered for making others feel wanted, accepted, and important. This is what we need from all of you moving on. We need you to embrace the mental hardship of always needing to be better. As cliche as this sounds, you are the future and you cannot, we cannot afford you to take that for granted. Look at our world today. We need better leadership, better role models, better inspirational figures, smart individuals to make sense of the technology that continues to be developed in waves. We need cures for cancer, AIDS, the common freaking cold. Research shows that in 4 years, you could possibly have a job that does not even exist today. We need go-getters like this class of students to take in this new information, land these new and innovative jobs, help out in different countries that need our support, be a voice for someone that does not have one. No matter what you do, just aim to be better than the person that did it before you. Leave a lasting impression, and then that person that comes after you will have to work even harder to be better than you. Be better than the version of you that existed last week, and you will see just how far you will go in life. The road is going to be tough, but know that when you cry, we will be there to wipe your tears. You fall, we will be there to pick you up. You start to doubt yourself, then we will give you a pep talk. But you cannot do is give up. The greatest leaders and thinkers of our time never gave up. I'm not in the same category as those people, but I never gave up. Never accepted no for an answer. If you tell me I can't do something, I will make it a point to do it even better than you ever imagined. But I don't have to tell you all that. You seem ready to take on this new world with a backpack and some beef jerky. I hope you take my words from today and put them into action tomorrow. Remember my story. If a poor, brown, thug-like boy can turn it into a positive, smart, and inspirational figure that stands here before you today, then any one of you can do even more. God bless you all, and good luck with all your future endeavors. Johnson out.
I apologize to those who have to give a speech next. Fareed, thank you, and inspirational. Okay. I would like to call upon two of our senior classmates, Ms. Ella Blicker and Ms. Isabel Kennedy, to perform a special selection for us.
Dedicated to the class of 2017.
We love you. I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. You get your fill to eat, but always keep that hunger. May you never take one single breath for granted. God forbid love ever leave you empty-handed. I hope you still feel small when you stand beside the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. Promise me that you'll give faith a fighting chance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. I hope you dance.
I hope you never fear those mountains in the distance. Never settle for the path of least resistance. Living might mean taking chances, they're worth taking. Loving might be a mistake, but it's worth making. Don't let some hell-bent heart leave you bitter. When you come close to selling out, reconsider. Give those heavens above more than just a passing glance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. Shine. I hope you dance along. I hope you dance. I hope you
ocean.
Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens.
Promise me that you'll give faith a fighting chance.
And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, dance. I hope you 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 dance.
Thank you, ladies. It's my honor to present and introduce to this community the salutatorian of the class of 2017, Mr. Harlan Oakes Leaf.
Wow, the speeches that came before me were really amazing. Anna, you did a great job. Ella and Isabel, you did a great job. Mr. Johnson, that was amazing. So good. I don't know how I'm gonna follow that up, but my mom has a magnet on our fridge at the top right corner. And it's kind of weird because it's the only magnet on there, but every morning when I come downstairs, I see it, so I'm going to talk about that. I was actually going to talk about something else, but I'm going to talk about that. It says, count your blessings. It says, when I count my blessings, I count you twice. I actually have a pretty good deal of experience with counting blessings, and probably a better deal of counting twice. From the age of like 8 until I was 13, I used to say my prayers every single night. I actually got back a letter recently from my religious school class that I wrote when I was like 12, and they sent it back to me when I was 18, and the last thing I wrote was, do you still say your prayers every night? If you don't, I think you should get back to it. And I don't anymore, but last night I had to get back to it. But I did it a little differently last night. When I was 8, I used to say everything that I was thankful for, everybody and everything in the world that I wanted to stay happy and healthy, and then everything that I would do in the world if I stayed happy and healthy. And as I would say it, I would see the words go in my mind, and if I thought of something else during it, or if I messed up, I would start over from the beginning, and that happened most of the time, so I literally counted my blessings twice every night. I was unbelievably weird back then, and if you ask any of my friends, they'll say that I'm just as weird now, which is definitely true. But last night, when I said my blessings, I tried to think of just the really important ones, just like my top 3, which were my family, my friends, my school community, and my village community. I think we have a really special village here. What I was going to talk about was the 10706 Facebook page. That's what I was going to... I can't talk about it now, so I just... That's a crazy page, and it's really funny. I actually have a quote. I'll read the quote. So one time when they were arguing about plastic bags, they said, one Hastings resident said, HOH, the land of unicorns and rainbows. People get trophies for participation, and laws are passed to make people feel better about themselves. And, I mean, you can go through any of the comment sections, and it's hilarious. But I think what's important to realize is that the 10706 page is filled with people that are passionate about their village. And I think we have that same passion in our schools. I mean, we have amazing athletes and actors and musicians and scientists and innovators. And every time that we take our passion for those things and we engage our talents with them, I think we really drive the school into a better place. And so, anyway, getting back to what I was saying before, when I said my blessings last night, I thought of just the big things, because I realized I was doing it wrong when I was 8 or when I was 13. It's not about getting it perfect, you know. I think Mr. A talked about this too. You don't want to get it perfect. You don't want to make sure that every detail is right. You want to think about what's important to you. And so that's what it means to say them twice. It doesn't mean to get it all right. It means to get what means most to you right. So as we go off into the world, I think we should all count our blessings, and then we should look around, and we should count them twice.
Good job, Sam.
That's the end.
Sam, I'm going to shout you out. You didn't read any of your speech, which you probably spent hours and hours reading. This is the beauty of our students. I mean, they can stand up here in front of 1,000 people and just wing it. And it absolutely sent a message. By the way, what a special night, huh? Were the gods looking out for us? What a beautiful night. Sam, excellent job. I lost my place, but excellent job. 10706. Okay. How do I follow that one up? It's my pleasure to introduce the valedictorian of our senior class, Miss Janie Litvin.
Just a huge shout out to Mr. Johnson for just being incredible, and to Sam, that was awesome. I could not wing that, if anyone knows me a little bit. Hello everyone, and congratulations to the class of 2017. Before I begin, I'd like to take a minute to thank a few very important people. First, Mr. Johnson, just once again, that was beautiful. Mr. A and Miss Hardesty, who are probably the coolest principal-vice principal duo of all time. Miss Gaggs and Miss Kikuchi, for all you guys do for us every day. All of the truly incredible teachers we've had over our years. The custodial staff who do so much for us every day and who set up this beautiful graduation. And most important, I'd like to thank my family, Mom, Dad, Jesse, and the families of all the graduates for your love and support throughout all of high school. One of my favorite parts of senior year is when my day begins at 5:54 a.m. I roll out of bed, hear my horoscope on the Z100 morning show, and get ready to leave the house by 6:36. Then, I pick up whatever conglomerate of people hasn't missed their alarms that day, and we cruise down Broadway, go over the weekend's gossip, make a slightly illegal left turn, and get our 32 ounces of sweet, caffeinated Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee, before rushing back to school in hopes of getting to early morning band before 7:15. At which point Mr. Jernigan gives us that look again, and we bow our heads in shame because he drives an hour from Fishkill every morning and still manages to get to school before we do. Don't get me wrong, there were so many moments from these past 4 years that might seem more significant than my coffee excursions to Yonkers. From screaming at the top of my lungs during every game on the boys' soccer team's road to states, to that time Nate Constantine made the half-court shot at junior year pep rally and our entire grade stormed the court, to the short and tragic life of Hastings High School dances. But when I think back on high school, my large Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee comes to mind before all of these things. And maybe, just maybe, my AP English class can help explain why this is so. This year, we discussed the concept of delayed gratification, which, according to a hippie guidance counselor from Mr. Blum's childhood, is actually one of the 2 things that we need to learn in order to be happy, successful adults. Delayed gratification is the idea of not satisfying our current desires in order to work towards long-term goals. Work hard in 4th grade so you'll be prepared for 5th grade. Study for your tests so you'll get good grades that will get you a good GPA, so you'll get into a good school and get a good job and make money so you can buy a convertible when you have a midlife crisis and then retire and move to Florida. It's not that delayed gratification is a bad thing. Oh, there it goes. I should have worn the bobby pins. Delayed gratification is not a bad thing. It works. That's why we're all here graduating today. But if delayed gratification is all that we live for, then, as Ralph Waldo Emerson puts it, we are always getting ready to live, but never truly living. Let's take a step back to the fall of sophomore year, when I embarked on a sleep-depriving yet life-changing journey called advanced geology. In the first week of class, my teacher, Dan Brownstein, wrote me a letter that I actually have hanging up in my room. He gave me a challenge. He said, "For this class only, work very hard on focusing on everything except the grades. You need to get to a place where you recognize that a grade means nothing. It has no value. Once you do this, your level of enjoyment will skyrocket, and along with that, so will your level of learning." Naturally, sophomore year Janie promptly ignored this advice and continued worrying about grades. But Brownstein had it all right. This emphasis on grades, which are essentially a form of delayed gratification, means that as students we are constantly focused on the future and not on the present. And because of this, we too often forget to truly enjoy what we are learning. And all this focus on the future means that sometimes we forget the pure joy of just being a high schooler. I recognize the embarrassing irony in me telling you to focus less on grades and more on the present. And I'm sure many of you are sitting there thinking, hey, this is the same girl who cried that one time in 7th grade because she got an 80 on a home and careers test. But honestly, I feel like this is directed as much to me as it is to you. Because I'd love to go back to freshman year and grab fresh out of middle school Janie with her braces and clothes from Delia's and walk her through the gauntlet past the Janie Smells sign that her dear brother kindly hung up for her on her first day of high school, and tell her not to worry as much about grades in college and go enjoy her geology presentation and argue her heart out in English, and hey, maybe take a nap during study hall and try drinking decaf. It's not that we didn't have these moments. It's just that we need to remember how important they really are. Lucky for us, we've got a whole life awaiting us. And I think that our challenge for this next era is what Brownstein challenged me back in sophomore year, to work for you and for what you have the capacity to learn. And remember that grades are only one small part of this. Let's all take a piece of advice from the legend himself, Ferris Bueller, who once said, "Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it." And Janie, when you take that extra second to stop and look around, that's when you realize just how much you love your Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee.
Before I welcome our superintendent of schools to the podium, I'd like to offer my thank you and my gratitude to Dr. Roy Montesano. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Montesano is leaving us at the end of this school year. I'd like to personally thank him on behalf of Hastings High School for the 5 years. I have learned so much from you, and I thank you for your years of service. It is my pleasure to welcome our superintendent of schools, Dr. Roy Montesano.
Hello, everybody. Talk about being in a tough spot following speeches. Janie, well done. Well done. Before I address the class, it is my honor to be able to give out a couple of honorary diplomas to some people who have been associated with Hastings schools for quite some time, and to honor and recognize them for their service. And as soon as I find my page, I will get there. It's okay. The last trick, huh, Lou?
I did it.
Thank you.
Here we go.
There we go. Thank you. And the first person I would like to recognize with an honorary diploma is someone who is well known to our entire community, Dr. Dorian Turgis. Dr. Turgis has been associated with the district for the past 30 years. He's attended many, many football games and provided excellent care to our student athletes. Dr. Turgis has also provided medical care to our community through his successful practice. We'll certainly miss Dr. Turgis, and I want to thank him for his service. And I'd like you all to please join me congratulating Dr. Turgis for his many years being associated with our school and community. Please. Do you have a diploma, Lou? You have a- Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the next person I'd like to honor and recognize is Ms. Dee Rattery, affectionately known by her students as Miss Rat. And Miss Rat started with our district in 2007 as a K-12 library media specialist, and she's worked with students continuously on developing not only and building up our library there, but also working on the Hillside headlines. She's brought in numerous visiting artists to share with our students and has worked as a mentor to other teachers. And she's also worked as an advisor to the Hillside newspaper and the homework help after school program. And I'd like to ask Miss Rat to come on up so we can recognize her as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you, Dee.
So good evening, my friends, guests, colleagues, and members of the class of 2017. My warmest greetings to each of you on this extremely important day. When graduation comes around, I find myself thinking about its meaning, everything that happens to bring us all to this point, and importantly, what the future holds for our graduates, our staff, and our school. I think about all the hard work by the graduates, the challenges, the students who have failed intelligently and persevered to win, the excellence, the triumphs, the individual stories, the fun and funny stories, and the staff who go out of their way to do anything they can to help. I also think about what our school stands for and what the school is here to accomplish and how it will serve the community in the future. And after reflecting on it all, I always come up with the feeling of being thankful. And I'd like to thank our Board of Education, our administrative staff, who work tirelessly to create a culture where students can succeed. I'd like to thank our teaching staff. Like any production, behind the scenes there's a huge effort going on in each lesson. And I've been privileged to work with such a dedicated team every day. Thanks to the entire support staff who put in a great effort every day to ensure our schools remain in top shape. And I want to also thank the parents and families for trusting us with their children and their great support over the years. And thank you, too, for the many hours spent volunteering to benefit our students. And thanks also to those in our community whose help is often unseen. And finally, thanks to the students for turning up each day, for trusting what we tell them, and for working so hard to be worthy graduates. It's been our pleasure to work with you on your high school journey. Today, I feel enormously proud of my association with the Hastings community, and I'm thankful for the opportunity I've served as a superintendent for the past 5 years. Being here this evening brings back memories of my own graduation more years ago than can seem possible. I recall my graduation as a day of mixed emotions. I felt confused, an experience filled with both anticipation and sadness, celebrating my graduation, but knowing I would miss my friends and wondering what was ahead of me. The real journey of my life seemed like it was about to begin, and now, too, so will yours. It's an interesting, exciting, and scary time in our country right now, and we will need all the talents and strengths of our graduates to help put us back on a positive track. Knowing what I know about these young men and women, I'm very confident about our future. In speaking at a recent college graduation, Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks, offered graduates 3 questions that can serve as their guide, which I would like to share with you and challenge you to think about as you continue your journey. 1, how will you respect your parents and honor your family? How will you share your success and serve others with dignity? And finally, how will you lead with humility and demonstrate moral courage? Try not to rely on what you have learned in the classroom. Instead, let your compassion, curiosity, empathy towards others, and commitment to service guide you. Give more than you receive, and it will come back to you in ways that you can't possibly imagine. As a class, you have made your mark on the school through your successes in academics, athletics, through your performances as musicians and actors, as well as your leadership in the area of community service. We're all counting on you to continue to make your own success stories and continue filling the pages of your life book with exciting experiences. But remember, it is your book, and the journey is the destination. Academy Award-winning actress Octavia Spencer recently said, "Don't let yourself get caught up in the trap of comparison. Trust me, comparing yourself to others' success only slows you down from finding your own. Remember, no one came here the same way, and you won't all achieve success the same way." And recently, I came across another article by a woman named Liz Patrone who offered some advice that I'm going to share with you as well. Look for the people with less, and you will find where you should help. This has two benefits. The first, of course, being that it lifts us all to a higher common denominator, but the second being that it's harder to feel deprived when you're sitting at the table next to someone with a smaller plate. Find a way to tell your story. Make art, write letters, sing songs, take up skywriting. Release the tale that sits like a stone in the pit of your stomach, and the more that doing so makes you feel like barfing, the louder you should tell it. Tell it until telling becomes as natural as breathing, and then teach other people how to tell theirs until all our voices rise up together united in the song of real truth. Listen to other people's stories. It's the biggest gift you can give someone. And forgive people, even those who don't deserve it, especially those who don't deserve it. Don't waste precious real estate in your heart holding on to grudges. Kindness is always the right choice, always. Say no to anything that you don't want, and say thank you for everything, even the things you don't want. Find people who can make you laugh without doing it at somebody else's expense, for that is the height of humor. Anything else is a shortcut. Get a good mechanic, a good doctor, a good therapist, and a good hairstylist, and don't confuse one for the other. Find one thing in your life that when you do it, you forget everything else. If you can get paid for this, great. If not, do it on the side until you can. And don't get lost in the worrying. For all of us, life is a series of losses punctuated by moments of great beauty. Your balloon's trajectory will follow your gaze. Look up, not down. Move forward, not back. And find a way to enjoy the ride. It'll be over before you know it. Class of 2017, may the years ahead be filled with much joy and happiness, many successes and satisfactions, many Hastings connections, and many visits back to your alma mater. I wish you and your families all the best that life has to offer. Congratulations and my best wishes.
And now a special selection by the Hastings High School Chorus under the direction of John Riss. Once again, our seniors who are members of the chorus, please join your chorus mates. Please welcome our President of the Board of Education, Ms. Eileen Bacher.
So you will be glad to know that, particularly since we've had such good speeches tonight, I'm not really going to give one. I had planned this ahead of time with Ms. Gagg, so I'm really not bailing out. It's not because I'm embarrassed or anything else, but I really think that you've heard tremendously good advice tonight, shared some really wonderful stories with people on this dais and with some of the students, and I think we should just all take a moment and on behalf of the board and everybody else who's standing up here and everybody in the audience, let's just give this class of 2017 a big round of applause. So since I'm not going to give a speech, we'll just get going with some diplomas. The only thing I will say about the diplomas is that they're empty when you get them. You'll have to pick up your paperwork. And when you do, the only thing I'll say is you'll also be picking up your voter registration papers. And it's really important that you fill those out and vote, all right? So that said, the president comes up and let's go.
Okay. Well, it's photo op time, folks. It's time for the presentation of the diplomas. I'd like to recall up to the stage our senior class president, Anna Hubert Aubrey, to read the graduate names while we award the diplomas. So, you going to have them?
I know, what's going to
You come up front here.
Okay.
Do I just start?
I'll get them from Matt. First one. First. Good lucky guy.
Yeah? Chris Adipietro. Leah Aligood. Akashi Baba. Katie Bannon. Caitlin Beach. Nicholas Bernstein. Emily Basaga. Samantha Vassetti. Ella Blicker. Tamar Bordwin. Beatrice Brown. Jackson Cadenhead. Michael Cajas. George Callis. Jacob Cantor. Louisa Carey. Luming Chan. Mina Chen. Samuel Collins Zaluda. Nathaniel Constantine. Catherine Curcio. Sarah Curcio. Isabel Curtis. Maya Curtis. Jed Danziger. Giancarlo DiFrancesco. Eliana DeLaviori. Francis Dovell. Miranda Edwards. Karen Espinoza. Rachel Fine. Livy Ferrari. William Fields. He's not here. Brian Philippek. Eva Finkelstein. Anya Flood Taylor. Ryan Flood Taylor. Brendan Flynn. Brendan Gallagher. Elijah Gelfman Randazzo. Alexander Jem. Jacqueline Gibbons. Michael Gibbons. Jonah Griff. Dahlia Halko. Sakura Hamazaki. Thomas Hanley. Joseph Harper Reed. Gregory Hart. Trevor Hayden. Daniel Isofano. Emma Jacobs. Ria Jasuja. Isabel Kennedy. Henry Levin. Declan Levy.
Coming up, yep. Sorry.
Archer Lim. Serena Lincoln. Janie Litvin. Nicholas Macaluso.
Congratulations.
Sophia Macaluso.
Congratulations.
Teresa Madalena. Natalie Malarchik. Drew McCarran. Andrew Megos. Alana Montanez. Alexis Mosca. Melissa Moscoso. Ahmed Nassar. Terrence Nugent. Wing O'Casey. Harlan Oaksleaf. Joseph Paoli. Oscar Pereira. Nell Pittman. Elizabeth Krall. Andreas Radovanovic. Michael Ratskin. Jeremiah Reeve.
Oh my gosh.
Sophie Rockland. Gabriela Rodriguez. Jennifer Rojas. Maya Rubin. Andrea Russo. Jacob Santoni. James Sarfati. Declan Sava. Wesley Sava. Oliver Shapiro. Harry Schoenberg. Noah Shaham. Miranda Shimsky-Agosto. Tina Shudo. Isabel Siebert. Catherine Siebert. Jackson Silverstein. Violetta Spinazzola. Emily Stevens. Frederick Stevenson. Noah Street. Sandra Sublette.
That's it. All right.
Koji Takagi. Damon Theodore. Christopher Tong. Katrina Van Tassel. Benjamin Wan. Michael Yang. Michelle Yee. Ricardo Zarama.
And last but not least, Hannah Hubert Aubrey.
Congratulations, Hannah.
Seniors, please stand. I ask now that you move your tassels from right to left, which symbolizes you have officially graduated. So let me say what I have to say first. By the power vested in me by the Board of Education of the Hastings-on-Hudson Union Free School District, I now pronounce the class of 2017 officially graduated. Thank you, everyone.